there comes a point in life when all the little explanations you've been carrying around suddenly stop working. You did what you thought was right. You tried to be patient. You made plans, showed up, kept your promises, believed something good was forming ahead of you, and then life turned in a direction you never agreed to. A relationship ended. An opportunity disappeared. Someone changed. Money got tight. A door you were sure would open stayed firmly shut. Maybe nothing dramatic happened at all. Maybe you simply woke up one morning and realized you no longer recognized the life you were living. And somewhere inside, a quiet question began repeating itself. What is happening to me? You look for meaning because the human mind loves a map. It wants a little red dot saying, you are here, another dot saying, you're going there, and a nice clean road connecting the two. But sometimes the universe takes the map out of your hands. And yes, that can be terrifying, because uncertainty feels a lot like danger when you're standing inside it. You can't see the whole road, so the mind starts filling in the missing pieces. Maybe everything is falling apart. Maybe you missed your chance. Maybe you made the wrong choice. Maybe everyone else somehow figured life out while you got left behind. Funny how quickly the mind becomes a disaster screenwriter when it doesn't have enough information. Yet there's something worth remembering here. Not understanding a season doesn't automatically mean the season is wrong. Imagine walking through a building while it's being renovated. Walls are torn open. Dust is everywhere. Wires hang from the ceiling. From where you're standing, the place looks worse than before. But the architect isn't looking at exposed drywall. The architect is holding the finished design. Your confusion may simply come from seeing construction while expecting completion. Most people only call something good once they understand what it gave them. That's the tricky part. You look backward and say, now it makes sense. The job you didn't get pushed you towards something better. The person who walked away exposed what you had been refusing to see. The delay forced you to develop patience, discipline, courage, or self-respect. Years later, the pieces connect so neatly that you almost laugh at how desperately you once tried to force them into place. But while you're living through it, different story. There's no hindsight, no final chapter, no comforting explanation sitting neatly on the table. There's only the moment you're in. And maybe trust begins right there. Not when the universe proves itself to you, but when you stop demanding that every chapter explain the entire book. Because your perspective, no matter how intelligent or experienced you are, is still a perspective from inside the moment. You're standing on one tile of a mosaic trying to judge the whole picture. You see the unanswered message. The universe may see the conversation that would have taken you years to recover from. You see a delay. Something larger may be rearranging timing, people, opportunities, even your own character before the next door can hold your weight. You see a loss and naturally call it an ending. Life may quietly be using it as an opening. Ancient wisdom has pointed toward this for thousands of years. Human understanding has limits. There are dimensions of cause, consequence, timing, and possibility that your present mind simply cannot calculate. So when the road disappears beneath your feet, maybe your first task isn't to figure everything out. Maybe your first task is simpler. Stay awake, stay grounded, take the next honest step, and trust that a road can exist before you can see where it leads. Once you understand that your view is incomplete, something begins to loosen inside you. Not everything, but enough. You stop treating uncertainty like evidence that you've been abandoned. And now a deeper question appears. Can you trust a process that doesn't explain itself while it's happening? Think about a seed beneath the ground. If that seed had a human mind, it might panic the moment it was buried. 1 minute there was sunlight, air, movement. Next minute, darkness, pressure, silence, dirt everywhere. From the seed's perspective, burial would look suspiciously similar to destruction. Yet hidden from sight, something completely different is happening. The shell is breaking because life is trying to get out. Roots are forming before leaves ever appear. Growth begins in a place that looks nothing like growth. Maybe some seasons of your life are like that. You're calling yourself buried while something deeper is calling you planted. Of course, trusting the universe doesn't mean pretending pain doesn't hurt. You don't have to smile at every loss and call it beautiful. You don't have to turn grief into some polished spiritual slogan. Sometimes something hurts because it hurts. Sometimes you're angry. Sometimes you're disappointed. Sometimes you want to look at the sky and say, "Really? This is the plan?" There's room for that. Real trust is strong enough to contain honesty. You can say, "I hate what's happening, and I'm still willing to believe there's more here than I can currently see." Those two things can live in the same heart. Surrender isn't emotional numbness. It's not becoming passive, detached, or endlessly agreeable. Surrender is refusing to let one painful chapter convince you that the entire story has turned against you. And here's where things get uncomfortable, because trust eventually asks you to give up your obsession with controlling the ending. Most people don't actually want guidance. They want confirmation. They want the universe to approve the plan they've already written. "Send me a sign," you say, but somewhere underneath you mean, "Send me a sign that says yes to the thing I already want." Then life points left and you stare right. A door closes and you keep knocking until your hands bleed. An old identity starts falling apart and you desperately glue it back together because at least the old version is familiar. Yet imagine boarding a train and telling the conductor you trust them, then panicking every time the tracks curve. A journey cannot take you somewhere new while remaining perfectly aligned with everything you already know. Sometimes guidance feels like disruption precisely because it's moving you beyond the boundaries of your old understanding. You don't need the entire route. You need enough courage for the next step. That's where so much energy gets wasted. You keep asking for chapter 12 while life is trying to teach you how to live chapter 4. You want to know who you'll become, whether it'll work, when the breakthrough will happen, how the relationship will unfold, where the money will come from, why the delay exists, what the whole thing is supposed to mean. And maybe there's wisdom in not knowing yet. If you were given every answer at once, you might try to skip the parts that are changing you. A mountain climber doesn't need to see every stone between the valley and the summit. They need enough light for the next foothold, then another, then another. Trust works much the same way. Follow what feels true, clean, and aligned now. Do what's yours to do today. Let tomorrow reveal what today cannot. Because once you stop demanding certainty before movement, you begin to notice something. The universe has been guiding you through more than you ever realized. And eventually, trust matures. At first you trust because you're hoping everything will turn out exactly the way you want. Fair enough. Most people begin there. "Okay, universe, I trust you. But please make sure this person comes back, this opportunity works out, this problem disappears, and preferably by Monday." There's still a little negotiation hiding inside the surrender, but life has a way of deepening you. It teaches you that alignment doesn't guarantee comfort. Good people still experience heartbreak. Kind people still lose things. Wise people still get confused. People who have spent years doing inner work still wake up to days they never would have chosen. Trust isn't a contract guaranteeing a painless life. It's a foundation that keeps you from becoming pain itself. Somewhere along the way, you begin to understand that the universe saying no doesn't automatically mean rejection. Sometimes no is protection. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's timing. And sometimes you may never receive an explanation that satisfies the mind. That possibility is harder to accept, but it matters. Not every tragedy can be wrapped in a neat lesson. Not every unfair event should be reduced to "everything happens for a reason," as though a sentence can tidy up another human being's grief. Life is more mysterious than that. There are losses so deep that explanation almost feels disrespectful. In moments like those, maybe meaning isn't something you solve. Maybe it's something you grow toward. You carry the unanswered question without letting it poison everything else. You keep living, keep loving, keep becoming. Little by little, the question changes from why did this happen to who will you choose to become now that it has. Because bitterness will always offer you an easy deal. It says, close your heart and you'll never be hurt like this again. Sounds tempting. There's only one problem. A closed heart keeps out joy too. Fear says, never trust another beginning. Cynicism says, expect disappointment and at least you won't be surprised. Control says, hold tighter. But none of those voices actually give you peace. They give you a smaller life. Trust asks for something braver. Stay open without becoming naive. Learn without becoming cold. Grieve without turning grief into your identity. Protect your boundaries without building a prison. Keep moving without pretending the road hasn't wounded you. Maybe you were betrayed. Maybe you lost years. Maybe somebody received the very thing you begged life for while you stood there with empty hands. You don't have to call that fair. You only have to decide whether it gets to write the rest of your story. And maybe this is where you finally understand what surrender really means. It's the quiet sentence you speak when the mind has run out of arguments. You know what I can't know yet. Not defeat, not weakness, not giving up on your dreams. Something steadier. You're placing your weight onto a foundation deeper than circumstances. Think of the ocean during a storm. At the surface, waves crash, twist, rise, disappear. Everything looks chaotic. But hundreds of meters below, the water moves differently. There are deeper currents untouched by the violence above. Your life has those depths too. Circumstances are the surface. Plans, disappointments, delays, opinions, timelines. They rise and fall like waves. Trust means learning to live from the deeper current. You still feel the storm. You simply stop believing the storm is all there is. And from there, something almost strange begins to happen. You may still not know what's coming, but you no longer need to know in order to keep going.